since 9/20. After the attack on the Pentagon, they're told to run. Within the hour, the UN building in New York and the Sears Tower in Chicago are also deserted, and all of Lower Manhattan is evacuating. But below the White House's East Wing, a World War II-era bunker is packed with top officials.
There were so many people in the bunker that the oxygen levels started dropping. And the Secret Service came in and said, we've got to get some people out of here. They literally went around telling people that they weren't essential and they had to leave.
Condoleezza Rice and Vice President Cheney remain, struggling to maintain some structure in government. The Commander-in-Chief is still in Florida, on board Air Force One, accompanied by Chief of Staff Andrew Card.
The plane, it started to roll down the runway, and it took off at a very high speed and a very steep incline. It flew in a serpentine way while we were waiting for some fighter jets to catch up with us and also trying to decide where to go. The president was anxious to get back to Washington, D.C. The Secret Service was appropriately concerned and said, we can't go there, we don't know what's happening. And I was kind of caught in the middle, negotiating between the president and the Secret Service and trying to discover what a good place to go would be.
With the highest authority in limbo, others must take responsibility for the big decisions.
Joe Cooper, Boston Center. We have a hijacked aircraft headed towards the New York metro area.
Air traffic control is still being swamped by unreliable information.
Trying to figure out, A, what exactly was going on, and B, what to do about it.
Ben Slidey is in charge of all 4,300 civilian aircraft flying over America. Any one of them could now have an Al-Qaeda pilot.
All I can picture is planes flying out of control.
Slidey has already stopped all new flights taking off. But the chaos in the skies requires a more dramatic solution, and the biggest decision of his life.
Let's land the sons of bitches. You know, let's land everybody. Get everybody out of the sky. Sort of like separating the wheat from the chaff. If I land everyone who takes the orders and lands, then what's left is are the bad guys. But I had no historical precedent for that.
Landing hundreds of planes at unfamiliar airports is dangerous and hugely expensive.
It would displace thousands of people. It would force the airlines to spend enormous amounts of money. All of that was in my mind, but it was a necessary order and I was going to do it.
On a day of confusion and chaos, Slidey's air stop order is carried out swiftly and safely.
I'm a person that analyzes what I've done, and I want to make sure that I did everything that I could do given the information that I had. I believe I did that. If I have one regret, it's that I did not order it sooner than I did.
But one flight pays no attention to Slidey's orders. United 93.
I heard the sounded to me like a struggle. But it was so garbled, nobody knew for sure what it was.
John Worth, air traffic controller in Ohio, the first to discover what America is dreading, another hijacking.
United 93, Cleveland, do you still hear the center?
I hollered at the desk and told them that we had a problem. I think it's this United 93.
I would like to remain seated, all aboard, and going to back to the airport, and to have our demand, remain quiet. United 93, understand, have a bomb on board, go ahead.
We had no idea where he was going to go. Was he headed to Chicago? Was he going to strike Cleveland? And at that point, I thought there's a nuclear plant right on the shore of Lake Erie.
Worth raises the alarm, but the military is chasing other threats. One is a Delta flight that's not responding.
You got anyone after that Delta flight?
Yes, sir. Delta Airlines 89er is a hijack headed. It is in your sector currently right now.
I said, no, I don't think it's the Delta. They said, well, are you sure? I said, I'm pretty sure it's this United.
United 93 turns towards Washington.
At that point, I thought, where's President Bush? Where's Air Force One? And where the heck are the military?
It won't be the military that saves Washington.
I answered the phone, and it was Tom.
Dina Burnett. Her husband Tom is on United 93. Together they'll face one of the toughest choices of the day.
I said, Tom, you're okay. And he said, no, I'm not. I'm on United Airlines Flight 93, and it's been hijacked. I felt this incredible panic inside of me. He said, I need you to call the authorities. I'll call you back. My first thought was, who do you call for a hijacking?
Standing in the middle of a suburban kitchen, Dina may only have minutes to prevent another attack.
I called 911. I was connected to the 911 operator. She connected me to the police department. They transferred me to the sheriff's department. The sheriff's department transferred me back to the police department. And they passed me on to the FBI.
We have the Pentagon just got hit.
I kept trying to explain to them that this was not one of the airplanes that had already hit the World Trade Center.
Sitting next to Tom is Mark Bingham. His mother also gets a call from the plane.
He didn't seem particularly upset, but as a flight attendant, I realized that Mark and his seatmates were in very grave danger.
Alice Hoagland. By the time her son calls her, she has information that can help protect Washington.
We knew that it was a race against time, and if there was going to be a difference made in that situation, it was going to be by the people who were on that flight.
As I was talking to the FBI agent, Tom called in a second time, and I clicked over, and I immediately told him about the World Trade Center.
Telling Tom about the other attacks means that Dina gives Flight 93 something the earlier planes never had. Proof that the hijackers are lying.
And then he said, oh my God, it's a suicide mission.
Air Force One is still circling over Florida. President Bush is safe, but noticeably absent.
To have the president as the one who could comfort the American people and let them know that the world wasn't coming to an end was a real disadvantage to have him out of Washington at that moment.
The president must eventually land somewhere. The Secret Service chooses where.
Fortuitously, there was an Air Force base in Louisiana that was in the middle of a nuclear exercise, the highest level of security, and that made a wonderful spot for us to go. But we were not running away, and in fact, he was anxious to get back to Washington.